Hello, I'm Chuck West, and I love craps. I love everything about craps. The bets, the dice, the table, the chips, the dealers. It's just a great, fun game. But one thing you quickly realize about craps is that there are a lot of ways to play. There are a lot of strategies and a lot of people online helping you understand how to use those strategies. But with so many of them, it can be difficult to narrow down the best ones. The strategies have a lot of exotic names, and some of them can be quite complicated. So what can we do? Most of the really great online strategy videos, for instance from Color Up, Casino Quest, and Pro Craps, roll a few shooters, maybe 10 at the most. But that doesn't give you a true sense of a strategy's potential, because a set of rolls might be particularly bad or particularly good on any given day. Even using a simulator or playing online doesn't give you a true statistical sense of a strategy's potential. Unless you have a lot of money to spare and a lot of time at the table, it can be difficult and expensive to narrow down the choices. So what to do? Well, what if you could roll a strategy with 1,000,000 shooters and compare the results with other strategies? That's where I come in. Stay tuned. In this video, we're going to analyze two very well-known strategies, squeeze play and the iron cross. We're going to take a brief look how they work and then go into their behavior via statistical models. I use computer programs to implement the strategies. Shooters are separated into groups of 25. I know the typical number is 10 shooters, but to me that seems like a really terrible day at the table. You show up and 20 minutes later it's all over. So I put the shooters into groups of 25, which seems more reasonable to me. I then run 40,000 realizations of those groups of 25 shooters. That equals 1,000,000 total shooters. We're going to start with squeeze play. It's become a very popular strategy since it was introduced a couple years ago by the folks at Casino Quest. It was also demonstrated by Jeremy over at Color Up. I'll do a brief description here, but links to the Color Up and Casino Quest videos are included in the description below. Squeeze play starts by letting a point be set. You don't need a pass line bet unless you want to be the shooter. Once a point is established, you place bets in $15 increments on the 5, 6, 8, and 9. That's $15 on the 5 and 9 and $18 on the 6 and 8. The first hit on any of your numbers pays $21. 20 of that is used to place $10 bets on the 4 and 10, with $1 left over. The next inside hit also pays $21. That $21 plus another dollar is used to push the inside up by 1 unit on each number. That's $5 on the 5 and 9 and $6 on the 6 and 8. The third inside hit now pays $28. You take that $28 and regress everything on the inside to 64 across. The result should be $72. Excess. It would be $62 if the final hit was on the 4 or the 10, which means that the $64 across is now paid for and is casino money. From here, the player can press and collect or just collect. Now we'll put that process into a computer program and run it for 1,000,000 shooters. We'll look at a couple different kind of results. I'm going to be showing you some graphs, but don't worry, I'll explain everything. The first graph is this one. This shows in its bare form, it shows the number of times a particular result was obtained, given the number of bets won and how many times it happened. So the bottom axis is the number of bets won per 25 shooters. From here to the right is the numbers are positive, indicating winnings. To the left of the zero are negative numbers, indicating losses. Internally, the program works in bets, but just consider a bet to be $10, so you can multiply the numbers on the horizontal axis by $10. The vertical axis on the left is the number of times a particular result happened in the 40,000 simulations. For instance, this bar here represents 50 bets won, or $500, and it happened almost 400 times in the 40,000 simulations. That's the basic plot. Now we can talk about some results. Here I've added a bit of statistical information to the plot. The mean value is the most important thing. It is the red line shown here and is about minus 10 bets, or minus $100 per 25 shooters. That means if you ran through 25 shooters 40,000 times, you lose about $4 million, or about $4 per shooter. Since the median is so close to the mean, we'll talk about the difference in another video. We can say that half the time you'll do better than that, and half the time you'll do worse. Now, keep in mind that no strategy is going to have a mean that's greater than 0. The casino makes sure of that. But your experience may be different. There are plenty of results in positive territory, so you can definitely make money with this strategy. And we'll talk about some ways to optimize that. But first, let's look at this data in another way. So what is this crazy-looking plot? Well, it's actually very informative, and you're going to learn to love it because it tells you things about the strategy and how you can use it. First of all, on the horizontal axis here is the length of the roll. This includes the 7 that terminates the roll. So here, for instance, is the dreaded 0.7 out. It's a roll of length 2. There's no roll of length 1 because there is no such thing. On the vertical axis here is the number of bets won. So we have a plot of length of roll versus bets won. So let's say we have a roll that goes on for 15 rolls and wins 10 bets. We go up from 15 and over from 10 to one specific point on the plot. Now let's say we plot a little point of light on that spot at that point, and then each time one of our million simulation is 15 rolls long and wins 15 bets, we plot another point of light there. It will keep getting brighter and brighter. Then we can plot it with all the other points, and that becomes this plot. The brightest points are the white ones in the lower left. They happen most often. The dim ones in the upper right rarely happen. And the black ones in the upper left and lower right never happen. The blue-green dots are the average number of bets won for each roll length. For instance, this dot is the average of winnings up here and the losses down here. This gap in the middle tells you what you already know. Your entire $64 is at risk until you get those 3 inside hits, and then you jump to break even or a little better. There's really nothing in between. So after that lengthy explanation, we'll come back to this plot later and compare it to the plot from the Iron Cross. So now we're going to talk about the Iron Cross. It's one of the most popular, if not the most popular, craps strategy. One of the reasons is that you can get action on every roll of the dice. As long as you can avoid the 7, you make money on every roll. And there are a lot of variants of the Iron Cross. The variant I'm going to talk about is called the Super Iron Cross or Super Cross. It was demonstrated very nicely by Jeremy over at Color Up, and I'll link to his video below in the description. I'll give a brief description of the Super Iron Cross here, and then we'll talk about the statistics. Like squeeze play, the Iron Cross starts out with a point being set. You don't have to bet on the pass line unless you want to be the shooter. The strategy has you placing bets in $15 units on the 5, 6, and 8. That's $15 on the 5 and $18 on the 6 and 8. You also place a $10 bet on the field. And the thing that makes a Super Cross super is a $4 bet on the horn. That makes your initial investment $65. Then, each time a number hits, the winnings go towards building the bets on the 5, 6, and 8. If the 5, 6, or 8 hits, you'll have to use part of the winnings to replace the field bets and the horn bets. Similarly, if the 4, 9, or 10 hits, you'll have to use part of the field winnings to replace the horn bet. The strategy has you do this for 5 rolls, and then you regress to 64 across and bank the remainder. From there, you can do a press and collect, or just collect, or whatever your favorite strategy is at that point. Here, based on the random numbers I came up with, the banked money is $79. Now, that more than covers the $64 across, so you're playing with casino money at that point. Once again, we feed the strategy to the computers and simulate 1 million shooters in 40,000 groups of 25. And we get this familiar plot. It looks a lot like the plot for the squeeze play, but it's shifted somewhat to the left. The mean, shown here by the red line, is about minus 20 bets, or minus $200 per 25 shooters. That means you'd lose, on average, $8 per shooter. While there's definitely room to make money with this strategy, you can see that most of the weight of the simulations came down in negative territory. Let's see if we can figure out why. So again, we're familiar with this plot from squeeze play. The length of the roll is the horizontal axis, and bets won is the vertical. It looks like there's a bug, but there isn't. The first 5 rolls after the point is set produce no net winnings. But you may wonder about this region here. Why are there still initial losses after the first 5 rolls? And why are there average winnings here and here still negative after the first 5 rolls? The reason for both is that the shooter can hit the point, and so some rolls are come-out rolls where your bets aren't working. That stretches out and biases this whole plot. To deal with that bias, I made a similar but different plot. In this version of the plot, I've only counted rolls where your bets are at risk, or equivalently, where you can make money. You can see now that the 0.7 out roll number is 1. Because we don't count the come out roll. So you progress through the second roll, the third, the fourth, and the fifth, So even if you 7 out on the 6th roll, you will, on average, make money. Now we can compare the two strategies we've looked at in this video. The main difference between squeeze play and the iron cross is the mean. Squeeze play's mean is about -10, where iron crosses is about -20. Remember, these are bets, so on a $10 table, that translates to losing $100 and $200 per 25 shooters. The other statistics for the two are pretty similar. The standard deviation and skew are things we'll talk about in another video when they become important, but here they're pretty much the same. The medians follow the means, which won't always be true, but again, we'll talk about that when it becomes important. Both strategies take about 6 rolls on average to get to profit. That's not too bad, but as we'll see in a moment, squeeze play's loss profile is a little better than iron crosses. And finally, both strategies require about the same number of bets up front to play. Now let's take a final look at the two strategies side by side. Here we have the plot for squeeze play on the left and iron cross on the right. I've remade the squeeze play plot, like the iron cross plot, to only count rolls where the bets are at risk. The first thing to notice is that the iron cross by design is locked in for 5 rolls. Squeeze play is only locked in for a minimum of 3 rolls, and it can start limiting its losses as early as the 4th and 5th rolls. But remember that while both strategies show a profit by the 6th roll, this is an on-average profit. Any particular roll can still be in negative territory on the 6th roll and beyond. For squeeze play, those rolls are found in this box, where the 3 necessary hits just haven't happened. The shooter is rolling everything but your numbers, basically. At some point, you may want to consider pulling your bets or regressing early or otherwise scaling back, and that may save you some money and improve your results. For the iron cross, it's this box. These results are here because it's possible to have really bad luck and roll a lot of field rolls that never hit the horn. In other words, the 4, 9, and 10, where you only net $6 per roll, or as little as $30 for the first 5 rolls, leaving you up to $34 in the hole when you regress. This may be an opportunity to improve the performance of the strategy, either by staying in the iron cross longer or pulling your bets completely, or maybe just scaling back by not covering the 4 and 10, so you just go 44 inside. That way you're not as exposed, but you don't miss a big roll if it happens to come along. These are just a couple ideas for trying to improve the results of these strategies. While working with craps strategies, I've found that what happens in the first few rolls is very important to getting the best results. So that's about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and maybe gotten some insight into these two very popular strategies. Next video, I'll try to do one strategy that has better results than these and one that has worse. But let me know what strategy you'd like to see analyzed, and I'll try to get to it. Also, let me know if you want to see other types of statistical analysis or graphs. I'm still developing this process, and I'd love to get some constructive input. Thanks for watching. Until next time, may the dice roll in your favor.